Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient, actually not our patient, in my last video reviewing this meter, there are a few things that I realized after I recorded it, and I have some updates as well. So let's start with the first thing that seemed weird to me when you remove the probes, right, and check the frequency there, it shows 0, but as soon as you connect the probe, it shows 60, right, or in this case 100. 60, right? I realized that, and also I received the comment that basically a probe, so it's so sensitive that the probe picks it up as an antenna. That's why on the oscilloscope, because I said my oscilloscope probes are connected and it doesn't behave that way. Well, oscilloscope probes are coaxial wire. This is a regular wire which can just as well be an antenna. So naturally it does pick up, that's why when you touch it, you feel, you see the 60 hertz wave for the same reason. So now it just picks up the electricity, the wave from around. So if we, even if it was battery powered, it probably would have behaved the same. So we can ignore that limitation for now. It's basically sensitive. Now, second and more important is connectivity and accuracy. So let's switch back to the Onmeter and let's do the scope. And as you can see, the on-screen multimeter is working. At least, this is very early version at the moment. But now, let's again check the resistance of 4070, which should be 550 milliamps, right? But now, with an on-screen meter, we get roughly 800. Unfortunately, it fluctuates. I don't know why. It could be related to the battery power or the mains power. It could be a source of interference slightly, and that impacts a little. It impacts the measurement, which results in slight fluctuations like that at those low levels. Obviously, this is not micro-ohm meter. It's not milliohm meter, but we have a nice up to 800, a little maybe over 800 milliamps. But deduct the resistance of the probes. So the probes themselves are, call it 80, 70, 80, right? Maybe, let's for easier math, let's call it 100 milliamps on the probes. Which, well, yeah. Let's call it 100 milliamps, which means that our resistance over here of 800 is actually 700, which is only 150 milliamps off, which is not bad. And resistance of the CPU, 13.5. And so you see that fluctuations is only on the level of 50, maybe up to 100 milliamps, maybe 50 milliamps of fluctuation. At the moment, it's more like 10, maybe 20, right? And I do believe that it is caused by the mains power. But that means that we can actually quite reliably measure the resistance of the core. By reliably, I mean definitely better than the Fluke. Oh, now it's 900, 87, yeah. It's roughly, let's call it 850. It also depends how I position these, but it's always fluctuating. Unfortunately, always fluctuating. So we can get some measurements from it, and we have an on-screen meter, which is why I bought this meter in the first place. That was the main reason. I didn't go after, the precision. That was not my main goal. Although I was kind of counting on it to be precise, way more precise than the Fluke, but I think it's precise enough. Now, as far as as you can see, the on-screen meter. So there's one misconception that I had, and that's actually a pretty interesting story regarding a neural network that I was using to develop this. And I tried to use Visa, NI-Visa protocol, and there are two options, two libraries, or actually three. I checked all three, and I had timeout issues. It basically wouldn't work reliably. So I started digging, and eventually neural network suggested that I connect to the COM port directly, which I did, and I did get the response from the meter. So then I asked the network, why can I not use the COM port directly? Why do I have to use the protocol? And I got a long-winded explanation why I cannot use the port directly. So I asked the question in the form of, help me understand it. If I got it right, the Visa is just an abstraction layer, so it doesn't impact the actual functionality of the device. It doesn't extend the functionality. I mean, it can extend the functionality, but it will not add any functionality to the existing device. Whatever functionality is in this meter, that's what you can use. And regardless whether you connect directly or through the abstraction layer, that's what you get, right? You can get from the abstraction layer, you can get more functionality than the actual device offers, right? To which, so if that be the case, then I should be able to do everything directly via COM port, which I can do via abstraction layer. So again, on one hand, the network agreed that yes, this is definitely an abstraction layer, so it's not going to add any functionality, but it made, again, a long-winded answer why I can get some functionality using abstraction layer and I cannot get it using the port directly, which didn't make sense to me. So I kept drilling and digging. The network was kind of stubborn, and finally I copied a part of a PDF documentation to the network, and I asked, does this help? And that was the trigger that network generated. So the network finally agreed that yes, you can pretty much do everything directly using the COM port without using any dependencies. This meter uses CH340 chip that is responsible for actually communicating and converting USB to COM and vice versa, right? Basically converting to low frequency serial from USB. So if you have one of those little programmers, CH341 programmer to do BIOS or what have you, you already have the driver. So all you have to do is just connect the meter, and that's it. It will show up as a COM port. Then from there, it's simple. The protocol is indeed in ASCII based, and it's pretty simple. But as you can see, what we see on the screen and what we see on the protocol on the COM port is different. By different, I mean I get much more accurate numbers on screen than what is displayed on the display on the device. Which means if you use any kind of software, and yes, there is some software you can get for this device to read the measurements and even to control it remotely from the computer. But the communication is so simple that it really doesn't take much coding skills to just write whatever you feel comfortable with. It really any programming language that you can use. Probably Python would be the easiest, quickest, but you can do it in C#, C, C++, even in PHP. If you really want to use PHP, you can, but you do need to connect to the serial, so you do need a library to interact with serial, which you can get, but it doesn't come included. So you would have a little bit of debugging, searching and debugging to actually make it work, but it's extremely simple. You can actually use non-programming languages like visual languages. I think MATLAB will connect with it. I'm pretty sure you can even use Excel to connect to it. It's a really simple communication protocol. Now there are some nuances, there are some tricks. So just to get, like we see over here, just to get the reading, it doesn't take much, but to make a reliable application that will constantly monitor the measurements and present them on the screen without crashing and without losing any data and that kind of stuff, it might be a little bit more tricky, because remember, when you write to the serial, and because it's pretty much a request response architecture when it comes to this meter, and it's relatively popular. That approach is relatively popular, which I don't really agree with. I would very much, since it's serial, I would prefer that without being polled, to just, you open the line, you can write to it, but there's a constant stream coming from the device, and you just keep reading it. That's how I would design it. But it's request response, so if you write to the port, and then right after writing, you're expecting data to be read, first you have a delay, because you're not physically writing to the port, you're writing to the system, then system buffers it and sends it over to the device. Then the device is responding, again, that is going to be buffered, and you're going to be reading the system abstraction layer. So there's always going to be some delay. So working around that delay, because both the device needs to take a little time to read the register, to compile a packet, and to transmit the packet over serial. So there's going to be some delay on the device, there's going to be some delay on the system. That delay is not going to be static. So if you just add 50 millisecond delay, that will greatly improve stability, but it's a very crude solution. I wouldn't recommend that, and it doesn't guarantee anything, because system allocates resources based on the needs at real time, basically. So if at some point, especially when you're recording a 4K video from 3 or 4 sources, there's going to be a lot of resources allocated to the OBS. There's going to be less resources allocated to your application. So that delay might be sometimes 5 milliseconds, sometimes 150 milliseconds. So if you just add blindly 50 milliseconds, that's not going to be reliable. So to create a reliable application, that takes a little bit of thinking, a little bit of troubleshooting, and a whole lot of testing. I had the same problems with Rework Pro, making Rework Pro stable, so it doesn't crash, it doesn't lose any steps and that kind of stuff. So I'm doing the same process with this. The application is going to be free. I'm not going to be monetizing it for various reasons, but mainly I just want to give it to the community. I think everyone should have a on-screen multimeter, and I think some people also sell it. But for this one, as I said, you can even find on GitHub solutions that other people made. Again, my solution is going to be a lot, maybe not a lot, but it's going to be more stable. It's going to be a little more professional when it comes to stability and maintainability and testability. I will release it as soon as I have a first stable version, but probably on my next video we're going to be using an on-screen meter, finally. So I would change my recommendation from I don't know who to recommend it to if you're aware of some limitations when it comes to powering it from mains, and you need an on-screen multimeter, I definitely recommend this one. My software works with all XDM's 1000 series, so that USB powered is also going to work on this one. Anything that starts with 10, my software is going to work with. Now, there's also going to be additional functionality regarding calibration. As you can see now, my probes call it 60, 70, maybe 80 milliohms. You'll be able to adjust the software so it just reduces that resistance or changes the voltage based on your probes. Obviously, you put it in manually. Or I'll just have a button. You press the button, you short the probes, and that's going to be our 0, right? So just like we calibrate the ESR meter, the same with this one. We're going to short the probes, click the button, and that's our 0, right? And that should work because the resistance should be fully linear, at least when it comes to series resistance. The wavelength or the wave resistance is a little bit different, or a whole lot of different, so yeah, that the linear function would not work with that. But with series resistance, it should be fully linear, so the calibration should work great. In addition, we can also add a storing history, graphs. I was thinking of getting some. Okay, I started rambling so much, my microphone died. So let's end here. There's going to be a few interesting features. If you have any ideas for the features that you would like to see on the on-screen meter, just put it in the comments, contact me via Discord, write me an email, what have you, and I'll try to get it implemented. Depending on complexity, it might be a simple feature that will be delivered in the matter of 10 minutes, or it might be weeks or even months before the feature is available. Thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you in the next one.